Hi, Kit with you, Flower Duet. Thanks for coming and joining me on another journey through with flowers. Today, I went to my local Trader Joe's. I bought 4 bunches of flowers, and I'm going to show you how I put them together in this little tiny bowl, which is a very on-trend thing right now. So I want to show you how to do it and stay nice and ethereal and light and economical. I'm going to show you how I did it with my ruler so that you know that your proportions are correct. I wanted to try to design a very delicate arrangement in this small bowl. It can maybe be expanded to be about out to here and up to here. Let's see how big the bowl is, and then we can decide how big we're going to make our arrangement. So the top of the bowl is 4.5 inches wide, and it's only a little over, looks like 2.25 inches tall. So that doesn't leave a lot of height. So we're going to go maybe up to about, we're going to go maybe 4 times the height, so up to about 8 inches tall, which would be about here. And as far as width is concerned, we can go out pretty far. So if it's 4.5 inches, we can go out about this wide. So we're going to keep it pretty rounded, almost like a ball of flowers above it. And we're going to keep it somewhat monochromatic. We're going to go with mostly white flowers. I actually stopped at Trader Joe's this morning to show that you could do this kind of arrangement with maybe a little cereal bowl you have at home, some floral foam, and some Trader Joe's flowers. So you don't need to go down to the flower mart to make this beautiful design. So what I have here is 1/6 of a brick of soaked floral foam. Remember, floral foam holds about 10 cups per brick of water. So we're at about maybe a cup and a half. So of course it doesn't really fit in this way or this way easily. I want to use the most surface area I can. So I'm actually going to shape it by cutting it sort of at a downward inward cut so that it's almost flush with the top of the bowl. Once I have it in place, because this might get moved and I don't want the flowers to shift because it's such a low bowl, I'm going to use suspenders of floral tape. So I'm going to go across the top. Oh, that's not sticking. So let's try again. So sometimes if your floral tape is old, it might not stick as easily, or if the bowl is slippery or wet. So I'm going to try to use the warmth of my hands to get that glue to stay in place. And I'm going to go across, not so that I'm crossing the middle, because I want to be able to have that middle open for my flowers to come straight up out of the middle. If I want to have a little extra security, I can take little pieces of tape. Instead of going all the way around my bowl, I can just tape where they meet on the side of the bowl. Just small little, like maybe 1-inch pieces, or I can go all the way around. Depends on how much time you have or how much tape you have. This uses a little less tape. I'm overdoing it. I probably don't need that much tape for the amount of flowers I'm going to use or the type of flowers, but I want you to see that this is what it would look like. And you could also use clear tape. I just used white because it blends in with the bowl, but also so you could see it. We have 4 kinds of flowers here. I got them at Trader Joe's. It's going to be really loud while I open the plastic. So when you're opening the plastic, you want to be careful not to tear it off sometimes, or rip the flowers through. You want to kind of open it like a present, like that. If you've got the flower food, make sure you use that to soak your, put in the water and then soak your floral foam with the flower food already in it. Or as your flowers drink, pour the water with the flower food in there. You'll notice I don't have any greenery. I'm using asters, Butterfly Ranunculus, baby's breath, and a California sage. And what I want to do is kind of disguise my bowl here. So I'm going to carefully take this baby's breath. So when you're using baby's breath, you got to kind of shake it apart because it will get tangled. And then I'm going to take small little pieces of it, maybe only about the size of my palm. And I'm going to go all around the base these really small pieces and try to disguise that tape I just added and the green floral foam. And so what I'm going to do is go all around the outer layer, like so, and keep going around, and I'll come back and show you what I do after that. So I stuck about an inch of the clean stem of the Gypsophilia, or the baby's breath, into the outer layer. You can see with my dark background that I've gone around the bowl. And that used almost one whole stem of baby's breath. So then on another part of the stem, maybe I can use just half of this. What I'm going to do is also, careful and untangle, I'm going to go in the middle, so on top of the floral foam. And I'm going to really try to go push it all the way down so that it goes all the way till I can't push it any farther, so that it really does a good job of disguising the green floral foam and that white tape that I put in there. And you can see that, you know, baby's breath, people think, oh, it's an expensive flower, it's cheap. You know, to be honest, it's more expensive than a rose by stem, and it takes a lot more labor to work with it. And sometimes there's breakage, or there's things that are a little bit brown, so you have to buy more of it than you think. So baby's breath is actually an expensive flower, and it takes a lot of labor to work with it, so it makes it more expensive. So now you can see I've almost pretty much like covered the bowl. At a glance from your angle, it's hard to see where that foam is, but it's there. So I've done this nice sort of layer. So now what I want to do is take my sage, which has a nice sort of drape to it, and I'm going to take pieces off the main stem. So I'm just pulling these pieces off. And when I got this morning at Trader Joe's, the checkout guy's like, that smells good. And yes, and you know, it's nice to add something with a nice scent into your design. So what I'm doing now is I'm pulling off the bottom parts of the sage so that when I put it into my foam, I don't have any greenery going into that foam. Remember, greenery should never be below the water line of a vase. And when you're working with floral foam, the water line is the foam. And if you notice when I was doing this, I was cutting and placing within 10 seconds. So when you're cutting and placing your stems to go into the foam, you're cutting and then placing immediately. What we're going to do here is I'm going to place each one of these into the side of the foam so that it's touching that lip of the foam, just like we did with the baby's breath. And I'm going to radiate out like sunshine, like a sunshine sort of radiating out. And I'm going to keep in mind that 3 times the width of the vase. I don't want to go too much farther out. The longer you keep your stems, the more flowers you're going to need. And I just bought these. I have a few over here in the side that I might add that I would have liked to have bought at Trader Joe's this morning, but they didn't have them. So I know I had them here at the studio. So again, this would be a total arrangement that you could get done by going to Trader Joe's for your flowers. If you don't have a wholesale mart near your house, when I say Trader Joe's and you're not from a place where there is a Trader Joe's, then your grocery store. Because most grocery stores these days also sell single stem bunches. All right, so I've gone around the base like a sun. So now might go around and in 5 places add a little bit more, just to add a little more girth to the different parts of the vase. So there's just a little bit more going that. So you can either add more than 1 stem at a time that you've peeled off and cleaned. Remember, we want to not go too long. We're not trying to get too long here. So I'm separating my baby's breath so I can see what I'm doing. So I just added a little bit more. Now what I want to do is I want to come up. And remember, our height we measured with our ruler, And our height, we don't want to go over 8 inches. So let's get my ruler back. And from the tabletop, we don't want to go over 8 inches. So that's about where I am. I'm not much higher than that. So we're going to go about, looks like about as wide as we are tall. So about 8 inches, 8 to 10 inches wide and 8 inches tall. So once I have my top ones, then I can start adding that mid-range of stems. Now when I'm adding these, I want to be cognizant that they're going out like a fountain. So I'll keep adding and then I'll come back. So I chose the Butterfly Ranunculus because they're very delicate, beautiful flowers. And I like the greenery that's on them. So I'm going to cut them at an angle and I'm going to have them coming out all around the design like so. And if they have a bud on them, I'll save that, maybe use that later if I want it. So how many am I going to put around all around? Well, it depends on how many stems I have, but let's try at least 4 around the base. So that's 4 around the base. Maybe one more low on this side. Let's see. All right, 5. I like that. Now, let's kind of come up. We need to come up into the design. We want that height. Let's see if we're measuring. Remember, there's not a lot of foam in here, so we're not trying to get too many stems in here. We want to try to make an impact with the fewest amount of stems we can and have it look like ethereal and light, not, an airy, I should say. So let's have, that one's going that direction, so let's have one coming up going in this direction. Got to really find a place in the foam where the stem will go in. If it doesn't go in easily, then you've got to pull out the whole stem and place it into a different part of the arrangement. Okay, so we have, pretty much done our height here. I like this one. This one's pretty too. Let's try to do this one right in the middle. Remember, I left that middle open, so I have no tape there. Got a little bit left, so I can go maybe low with this guy, add some drama. And this one's small. Radiating out maybe this way. All right, so I'm pretty happy with my Butterfly Ranunculus. So now let's add some asters. So the asters are these really darling little white, little fluffy flowers. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to radiate out. So you always, anything that's kind of on the larger side can go lower in the design. And then the smaller ones can come up high. But in this design, I think you're going to be okay if you have, the larger, this is such small flowers, so even if you have the quote unquote larger ones, you can keep them high in the design if you want. So as I'm adding, flowers around and adding the floral foam is getting less and less noticeable. It's still somewhat noticeable, but I'm not that concerned with it being like people are going to be like, oh my God, I see floral foam. Usually we're like, oh, you know, you don't see any foam, that's a foam pas. But I don't mind it right now. I can still go back and add more baby's breath at the end because I still have some. So I have some tall asters that are going to be really pretty up high. I mean, some small ones, I should say. So I've done the low and the high. So then I have to do this middle range with asters also. So let's see. Try to find some that maybe have more than one bloom on it, because that would take up some nice space. And you kind of want to do it so that you're not stacking them right on top of each other, so that you're kind of adding them in different zones throughout the design. So you're going here, then here, then here, you know, different spots. Okay, I'm going to keep adding and then I'll come back. I have some white ranunculus that I had at the studio, which I was looking for at Trader Joe's, but they didn't have them today. I'm sure I could find them another day. So I'm just going to add a few of these. They're a little bit bigger, and I'm running out of room in my floral foam, so I don't want to force them in too much, and I don't want to take away from the other flowers I've already added, but I think they'll add some nice weight to the design. So I'm going to add these ones that are pretty full. I'm going to add them low, where they're heavier in the arrangement. And then any of these smaller ones, I could bring that look up into the design, so you can notice, oh, there's ranunculus, white ranunculus in the design too, not just the yellow butterfly ones. Like so. Again, I know I keep saying it, but we'll be running out of room very quickly in here. So I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get all of these in. Okay, let's do a size check, because remember, we're trying to stay within that, 3 times the width, 3 times the height of the vase. So let's see where we are. So height-wise, we're just around 9.5 inches tall, and width we're about 12, a little over 12, like 14 inches width, which is kind of what I said we'd do, be a little more than 12. Height, I thought we'd be around 8, but actually I think it looks very natural. Compared to the bowl, it doesn't look too big. But what I feel like I'm missing is a little bit of the baby's breath in the middle of the design. So I'm going to go back to my baby's breath, and because it's such a small, thin stem, I should be able to get it in easily. Now, instead of doing the short pieces like I did in the beginning, I'm going to use the longer pieces. And I'm going to make sure it's seen up in the design of the vase, just like baby's breath is supposed to be used, which is filler. And this way, I'm going to use it the way it traditionally is supposed to be as one of our, sort of member of the party. Baby's breath is beautiful. It's ethereal. Sometimes it has a really nice scent, a delicate scent, and a lot of flowers don't. So it adds really pretty scent to designs. We just did a wedding recently where the bride wanted baby's breath everywhere, in the arrangements, in the ceremony, in her bouquet. It was beautiful. The boutonniere for the groom had baby's breath in it. It was all white wedding. It was beautiful, classic, and very dreamy. So it does break easily, so you got to trim it away. So you always need to maybe buy more baby's breath than you think. It's very delicate. But like I said, the stems are nice and thin, so they go in easily. See how that just filled in really beautifully? And then if I have any leftover pieces, which I do, I'm going to go low, bring some of that baby's breath fullness out at the bottom, and that again will help disguise the tape on the sides. It'll help disguise the floral foam, and it'll just kind of round out the design so it doesn't look quite as stemmy without it, because we didn't use any greenery. So when you don't use greenery, you do run the risk of having a very stemmy looking design, and I'm not a big fan of that. So I like to hide the stemminess because I really want to just see the flowers. I think I've used most of the baby's breath. Again, if you have, baby's breath blooms at different times, even on the thing. So if you have some that are a little bit brown, just peel those off, and then the rest looks nice and pristine and white. The more full it is, obviously, the older it is. So there we go. A beautiful, ethereal, rounded design in a teeny tiny bowl. And what a great impact, and how beautiful and delicate. Thanks for joining me, Kit Wirtz with Flower Duet.